A widowed billionaire walked in and saw his infant baby in danger. The nanny had vanished, leaving him screaming. And then, she walked in. A grieving black maid, still nursing her own child's milk, breastfed his baby, and saved his life. What happened next shocked everyone forever. The piercing cry of a baby shattered the silence of the mansion, echoing through the crystal chandeliers and marble halls like a warning bell. For over 3 endless hours, that fragile voice refused to stop, shaking every corner of the cold, luxurious home. Downstairs, Elena Ramirez scrubbed the same shining tile again and again, though her hands trembled. Just 24, her palms were roughened by years of thankless work, but her heart cracked deeper with every cry from above. 6 weeks ago, Elena had buried her newborn son, gone before she could even memorize his face. Since then, the sound of an infant's cry felt like a knife twisting inside her chest, and tonight that cry was breaking her soul open. "He'll faint before he stops," she whispered, pressing harder on the floor as if cleaning could erase her torment. Upstairs, little Noah Bennett, barely 2 months old, lay writhing in his crib, lips dry and bleeding, mouth searching desperately for something that wasn't there. The bottle beside him stank of sour rot, spoiled in the summer heat hours ago. His nanny, Vanessa Price, just 28, polished and hired from an elite agency, had vanished more than 6 hours earlier. She had left with the excuse of buying special formula, but in reality, she was at a high-end mall sipping coffee, arms loaded with designer bags, laughing at life while Noah screamed in agony. To her, this job was nothing but an easy paycheck. On the first floor, behind a locked mahogany door, Adrian Bennett, 36, Noah's father, sat stiff in his leather chair. Billionaire founder of a global tech empire, he was a man whose hollow eyes and shadowed face betrayed sleepless nights that no wealth could heal. For 2 hours, he had been stuck in a tense video call with ruthless Japanese investors. But through all the talk of numbers and contracts, his son's cries clawed into his soul like nails. "Mr. Bennett, can we finalize this deal?" a voice asked. Yes, you have my word," Adrian muttered, eyes drifting to a framed photo on his desk, his late wife, Emily, who had died giving birth, leaving him shattered and alone. And as the cries upstairs grew weaker, Noah's breath began to falter. Elena's chest throbbed violently. She dropped her rag, heart pounding, and rushed toward the staircase, whispering between trembling breaths, "Please, God, don't let this baby die too." She burst into the nursery and froze. Noah's tiny body lay limp, his skin burning hot, eyes half closed, his little lips gasping for relief that never came. "Dear Lord." Elena snatched him into her arms, feeling the fever radiate like fire through his fragile body. She gagged at the sour bottle on the nightstand. It was poison now, not nourishment. Noah whimpered weakly against her chest, searching, pleading, fading. In that instant, something inside Elena broke wide open. For 6 weeks, her body had still produced milk, even though her own son no longer needed it. Watching Noah collapse the same way her baby had, her grief transformed into instinct. The instinct of a mother. With shaking hands, Elena fell into the rocking chair, unbuttoned her blouse, and pressed Noah close. Instantly, his cries stopped. He latched on hungrily, drinking as though his very life depended on it. "It's okay, little one. I've got you," she whispered, tears soaking her cheeks. And for the first time in weeks, peace brushed her shattered heart. Elena stayed frozen in that chair, cradling Noah with trembling arms. The suffocating cries were gone, replaced by the soft gulps of an infant clinging to life. Tears ran freely as she whispered, "Drink, little one. Let me save you," though the words were as much for her broken soul as for him. She forgot the mansion, forgot she was just a maid, forgot that Adrian Bennett could walk in at any second. Nothing else existed except this fragile baby breathing against her chest. His tiny fists clutched her blouse as his heavy eyelids surrendered to peaceful sleep. For the first time since her tragedy, Elena felt a sliver of purpose return, but the fragile peace shattered in an instant. The nursery door creaked open. Adrian Bennett stood frozen on the threshold, His tired eyes widened at the sight. Elena in the chair, blouse undone, Noah pressed to her chest, bathed in the glow of sunset through the curtains. For a heartbeat, Adrian couldn't breathe. His chest thundered with shock, confusion, and something else he dared not name. "What the hell are you doing?" His voice cracked the silence, raw and suspicious. Elena jumped, her face drained of color. She tried to cover herself, clutching Noah close, panic written all over her. "Sir, I can explain." Her voice shook like glass. Adrian's gaze was fixed on her, torn between fury and disbelief. His son, his only son, was finally asleep, breathing calmly for the first time in weeks. Yet his mind screamed she crossed the line. She is not his mother. Elena bowed her head, clutching Noah tighter. "I'm sorry," but he was collapsing. The bottle was spoiled. I couldn't just stand there and let him die. Adrian's fists clenched, his chest heaving as he stared at his child's peaceful face. Anger warred with an unspoken truth. Elena had just saved his son's life, but judgment hung like a storm in the air. Later that evening, Vanessa strutted back in with shopping bags, tossing a flimsy excuse about formula. But her darting eyes betrayed unease, sensing something had changed. Gossip didn't take long to spread. By nightfall, whispers swept through the elite neighborhood. "The maid nursed Mr. Bennett's baby." Can you imagine? Disgusting. They twisted Elena's grief into madness, her compassion into obsession. And when Adrian's phone buzzed with the call he dreaded from Patricia, the notorious neighbor, her words dripped with poison. "Adrian, darling, be careful. Women like her, they get attached. People say she looks at your son as if he were her own." Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose, torn between gratitude and fear. "Patricia, don't spread every rumor you hear." "Rumor?" Her sharp voice hissed back. "Adrian, everyone is talking. Protect your name. Protect your son." Each word dug into Adrian Bennett like a dagger. The walls of his empire suddenly felt fragile, ready to crack under society's whispers. In the kitchen, Elena overheard fragments of gossip and froze. Her stomach turned to stone. She knew sooner or later, judgment would crush her. That night, Adrian sat alone in his office, staring at Emily's photograph. "If you were here, what would you think? Would you forgive me for letting another woman hold our child like that?" His grief, suspicion, and the poisonous words of others twisted together like a noose around his throat. The next morning, Adrian called Elena into his office. His voice was cold, cutting. "You're fired." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she dropped to her knees. "Please, sir, let me stay, just long enough to say goodbye to Noah." But Adrian turned away, unable to look into those desperate eyes. Minutes later, under a storm of rain, Elena walked out of the mansion carrying only a small bag. From the window, Adrian's chest ached as he saw her lonely silhouette disappear at the corner of the street. Still, the ringing phone reminded him of the world insisting he had done the right thing. Days became weeks. Everywhere Elena went to beg for work, the same words stabbed her. "Do you have a reference letter from Mr. Bennett?" She called, but Adrian never answered. Slowly, her savings ran out. 2 months later, the landlord threw her onto the streets. With her few belongings stuffed into a plastic bag, Elena curled up on a park bench her first night, shivering beneath a useless newspaper. Every sound in the dark made her flinch. She never closed her eyes. By the second night, as rain lashed down under a broken awning, 3 men approached. "Well, look at you," one sneered. "Pretty girl wandering alone." Her pulse exploded. "We can give you a place, if you know how to be grateful." Terror lit her veins. Elena bolted barefoot through puddles, mud splashing her legs. She didn't stop until she collapsed behind the stone wall of a church at dawn. By the 3rd night, her strength gave out. Coughs tore through her chest. "First time on the streets, isn't it?" a gravelly voice asked. An old man with white hair and kind eyes offered her a hand. "I'm Howard. Been out here 10 years. How did you know?" Elena whispered. "You're still clean." "Still got hope in your eyes. That's how I can tell." He gestured toward a bridge. "Come, you'll be safer with us." Beneath the bridge, Elena met 6 others. Mrs. Mercedes, who'd lost her home to a son's addiction. Jack, crippled by an accident. They shared cardboard scraps and broken dreams, but greeted her with weary kindness. "There are rules here," Howard said. "Share what you can. Protect each other. Above all, never lose your dignity, even if you lose everything else." Elena nodded, but each day chipped away at her strength. Her face thinned, her clothes frayed, her hair tangled. She scavenged trash bins, collected bottles, fought for scraps. Worst of all was waking each morning with her body aching, breasts swollen, milk still flowing for a baby that would never come back. She tilted her head to the gray sky and whispered, "Noah, do you still remember me?" Inside the Bennett mansion, the absence hit instantly. That very first night without Elena, Noah cried until his tiny voice grew raw. Adrian lifted him, pacing the nursery for hours, whispering hoarsely, "Daddy's here, Noah. Daddy's here." But the baby shoved away the bottle, screaming until his skin turned purple. By dawn, Adrian's eyes were bloodshot, his shirt damp with sweat. Noah finally collapsed from exhaustion, not comfort. Vanessa barely blinked. "It's just a phase. Babies cry," she muttered with a shrug. But Adrian saw the truth. She was relieved, even glad to hand responsibility to someone else. The next day, Noah refused food altogether. His tiny body weakened before Adrian's eyes. In desperation, Adrian summoned an experienced nurse. After 2 hours of failed attempts, she shook her head. "I've never seen this before." "He's rejecting everything." Panic clawed Adrian's chest. More specialists arrived. Carla, an expert in newborn psychology, studied Noah carefully. "Mr. Bennett, this is not only physical. This is psychological trauma. Infants can grieve too. They form bonds," Adrian stammered. "But his mother died at birth." "It doesn't have to be the mother," Carla explained. "Any figure he trusted, anyone he felt safe with." Adrian's throat tightened. One name thundered in his mind, Elena. But he forced the thought down. No one. Days blurred. Noah shrank before Adrian's eyes, pale and fragile. Adrian sat beside the crib, haunted by the same helplessness he'd felt the day Emily died. Finally, pediatrician Dr. Villanueva examined the child and spoke gravely. "He has no severe illness, but his condition is critical. If his emotional bond is not restored, hospitalization is inevitable." 3 days later, Noah lay in a hospital crib, his tiny arm taped with an IV line. Adrian's empire crumbled in his head, meetings forgotten, deals abandoned. Each time he saw his son lying still, a knife twisted deeper. Returning to the mansion one afternoon to collect clothes, he froze at hushed voices in the garden. Vanessa stood with a strange man, holding a box of Noah's medicine. "This one's expensive. Over 300. You'll make a fortune reselling it," she whispered. The man slipped money into her hand. Adrian's rage exploded. "Vanessa, what the hell are you doing?" She spun, stammering. "Mr. Bennett, I can explain." "Explain? You're stealing my son's medicine to sell." Adrian roared. The stranger fled. Vanessa trembled. "I needed money for my mother. She's sick. Please." Adrian's eyes burned. "How long? How many times?" The silence stretched until finally Vanessa collapsed, sobbing. "Fine, I admit it. I lied about Elena. I made it all up. I was jealous, afraid you'd trust her more than me. The truth is, she saved Noah that day. She's the reason he lived." Adrian's world cracked like thunder. His breath caught, chest heaving. The truth blazed in front of him. Elena was never the danger. She was his son's savior, yet he had cast her into hell because of lies. Guilt crashed down like a tidal wave. Trembling, he whispered, "My God, I've made the worst mistake of my life." The memory of Elena walking away in the rain, clutching her small bag, burned into Adrian's mind. A grieving woman still carrying milk in her body had saved the child he himself failed to protect. And what had he done? Cast her into the streets without a penny, without shelter. His chest tightened as the truth hit him. "I have to find her before it's too late." The very next morning, Adrian began his desperate search. He went to Elena's old boarding house, but the manager shook his head. "She left weeks ago. Small bag never came back. Employment centers flipped through endless lists. Her name wasn't there. He tried hospitals, churches, even police stations. Every place gave the same answer, nothing. Each rejection squeezed his chest tighter. At night, Adrian drove aimlessly through the slums, past parks where homeless figures shivered under broken awnings. The rain smeared across his windshield like the tears he could no longer control. He stepped out, asking strangers with weary eyes, "Have you seen a girl named Elena?" But no one believed him. To them, she was just another forgotten name, swallowed by the city shadows. 4 sleepless days dragged by. Adrian's beard grew ragged, his eyes hollow. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Noah's condition worsened. Doctors warned if nothing changed, they'd be forced into drastic measures. On the 5th day, when all hope was nearly gone, Adrian received a call. "Mr. Carter? This is Monica from the next district. Yesterday I saw a girl, looked like Elena, frail, sick, walking alone." His pulse thundered. He scribbled the address and rushed out. Hours passed, no trace. Night fell, despair swallowing him whole. Then his phone buzzed. A gravelly old voice crackled through. "You're the one searching for Elena, aren't you?" Adrian's breath caught. "Yes! Do you know where she is?" The voice replied, "My name is Howard. I lived on the streets with her. She suffered enough. Why are you looking for her?" Silence gripped Adrian before his voice cracked. "Because my son is dying, and only Elena can save him. I made a terrible mistake." After a pause, Howard's slow voice came back. "She's under the Avenida Bridge. But listen, if you hurt her again, we will never forgive you." Adrian's grip on the wheel tightened. "I swear I'll never let her suffer again." His car tore through the night like lightning, his heart blazing with one purpose: find Elena before it's too late. Beneath the Avenida Bridge, damp moss clung to the pillars. The night air bit like knives. Adrian stumbled through the shadows until his eyes caught her. Elena, curled in a corner like a broken sparrow, wrapped in a tattered blanket. Her once glowing face was pale, lips cracked, hair tangled. A sudden cough shook her frail frame. Adrian's chest crushed under guilt. "Elena." She flinched at his voice, recoiling like a wounded bird, terrified of the same hand that once cast it away. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was raspy, broken. Adrian stepped forward but stopped, afraid to scare her further. "Please, listen." "Noah, my son. He's dying. Doctors say only you can save him." Elena let out a bitter laugh, hollow as an empty shell. "Save him? I already did. And what did I get in return? Lies, shame. You threw me into the streets like dirt. Why should I ever trust you again?" Adrian's knees hit the wet ground. Rain dripped from his hair onto his wrinkled shirt. His voice cracked. "I was wrong, Elena, blind and weak. But don't punish Noah for my sins. He remembers you. He needs you." Tears welled in Elena's eyes. Her heart waged war within, half screaming to turn away, half aching at the memory of Noah's cries. After a long silence, she bit her lip and whispered, "Fine, I'll go. But only for Noah. After that, I'm gone forever." The car sped through rain-soaked streets. At the hospital, when Elena entered Noah's room, his tiny body lay limp, skin pale, lips bluish. Doctors hovered, their faces grave. But the instant Elena whispered, "Noah!" his tiny eyes fluttered open, weak recognition glowing. His lips curved into the faintest smile. The entire room froze. Elena gathered him in her arms, and within seconds, Noah's cries silenced. His breathing steadied, his body relaxed. Daniel's vision blurred with tears. In that moment, he knew. Life had granted him a second chance. From that day forward, Noah's condition improved like a miracle. He fed again, he slept peacefully, his body growing stronger. Doctors shook their heads in awe. Bond and love saved this child. Adrian couldn't ignore it anymore. He called a press conference inside the hospital. Standing before cameras, his voice shook but firm. "Elena Torres saved my son's life. Every rumor about her was a lie. I was wrong. She deserves justice," the city erupted. Patricia, the root of the poison, was fired and shamed publicly. Neighbors who once sneered now lowered their eyes in guilt. Elena said nothing. She focused only on Noah, tracing his breaths with trembling hands. Adrian, on the other hand, changed. He no longer saw her as a servant, but as a woman who had given everything. Slowly, with every giggle of Noah, every small evening moment, the walls around Elena's heart began to soften. Weeks later, as Noah finally left the hospital, stronger, smiling, and clapping his tiny hands. Adrian took Elena to the very same park where she had once sat alone on a cold bench, shivering in despair. But today there was no broken bench, no shadows of hunger, only a warm blanket spread on the grass, Noah's innocent laughter echoing like music, and the glow of sunset bathing them in gold. Elena sat quietly, watching Noah crawl toward the flowers. Her eyes softened, but deep inside a fear lingered. What if this happiness disappears too? Adrian turned to her. His hands trembled as he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. His voice cracked, raw with emotion. Elena, I can't pretend anymore. The greatest mistake of my life was letting you walk away in the rain that night. I can't lose you again. You saved Noah, and you saved me. You've become the mother Noah needs, and the woman I love. Will you marry me? Elena froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head slightly. Adrian, after everything, after the pain, the lies, how can you still ask me this? Adrian's voice broke, but he didn't look away. He fell to his knees in the grass, rain-damp earth staining his suit. Because you're the only one who turned my house into a home. The only one Noah reaches for when he cries. And the only woman I've ever truly loved. Please, Elena, don't just be Noah's savior. Be his mother. Be my wife. Silence hung heavy, broken only by Noah's sweet giggle as he toddled back, clutching Elena's hand with his tiny fingers. He looked between them and clapped as if urging her to answer. Elena's lips trembled. Her heart screamed with memories of betrayal and grief, but also with the warmth of Noah in her arms, the sincerity in Adrian's eyes, and the family she thought she'd lost forever. Finally, with tears spilling freely, she whispered, Yes. Adrian's face crumbled with relief as he slipped the ring onto her trembling finger. Noah squealed with joy, wrapping his little arms around both of them, as if sealing the vow himself. Beneath the starry sky, Elena no longer felt like a servant or a broken mother abandoned by fate. She felt whole, loved, chosen. For the first time, she believed in forever, and there, in that park where her story of pain once began, a new story was written, one of love, sacrifice, and a second-chance destiny had carved just for them. Can you believe what happened next? What would you do if you were in his place? Comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the Black Nation Strength family for more shocking, heart-stopping stories like this. Tap the bell so you never miss a moment.